In this video, we are going to talk about travel to Cairo, Egypt, so before starting this video, please like this video, and subscribe to our channel for the future updates. Cairo is one of the world's great megacities. For historical sightseeing, there are few cities that can compete with Cairo, but Egypt's capital offers many more things to do than just museums and mosques. As beautiful and as rich in historic finery as it is confounding and an assault on your senses to first-time visitors, Cairo tends to be a city that travelers love and hate in equal measures. Its sheer noise, pollution, and traffic can make a first visit here difficult to navigate, but Egypt's capital has so much to offer travelers that look beyond its problems. Full of vigor, Cairo is the best place to visit in the country to get a feel for modern Egyptian street life. No trip to Egypt is complete without a stay in the city Arabs call Al-Dunya, the mother of the world. The main tourist attraction everyone is here to see are the Giza pyramids on the city's doorstep, but the city itself is crammed with major monuments that span centuries of history. Here's the description of travel to Cairo, Egypt. Let's start. Admire Mamluk architecture in the Sultan Hassan Mosque. One of the finest examples of Mamluk architecture in the world, Sultan Hassan Mosque is a vision of Islamic artistry with an abundance of stalactite detailing and intricate arabesque features. It was built in 1356–63 for the Sultan Hassan el-Nasir. The massive main doorway at the north corner is almost 26 meters high, and the minaret at the south corner is the tallest in Cairo at 81.5 meters. The main doorway leads into a domed vestibule, beyond which are a small antechamber and a corridor leading into the ornate open court centered around an ablution fountain. From here, an iron door leads into the Sultan's mausoleum where the stalactitic pendentives of the original dome still survive. In the center of the chamber is the Sultan's simple sarcophagus. Directly facing the Sultan Hassan Mosque is the El Rifai Mosque, built in 1912 to house the tomb of Khedive Ismail and constructed to replicate its older next-door neighbor. The ex-Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, 1919–1980, is also buried here. Both mosques prominently sit on Midden Salah ad-Din, directly below Cairo's citadel. Get views across the city at the citadel. In a commanding location at the foot of the Mokattam Hills, Cairo's citadel was built by Saladin in 1176. The original structure he laid out has long disappeared except for the eastern outer walls, but a legacy of rulers has made their own additions here. The Mosque of Muhammad Ali is the most famous monument and the main reason for visiting. Nicknamed the Alabaster Mosque, its white stone and tall, disproportionately slender minarets are one of Cairo's great landmarks. The other big reason to come up here are the views across the city. Head to the Gawara Terrace for the best panorama in town. Just to the northeast of the Muhammad Ali Mosque is the El Nasir Mosque, built in 1318–35 by Muhammad El Nasir. A collection of rather half-hearted museums, the Police Museum, National Military Museum, and Carriage Museum, takes up some of the other buildings on site and are more worthwhile viewing for the architecture of the actual buildings rather than the exhibits themselves. Day trip to Tanis. The remains of ancient Tanis, capital of the Tanite kings of the 21st and 22nd dynasties, lie in the northeast of the Nile Delta region, still partly buried under the ridge of the hills. Tanis is probably most well known as the lost city where Indiana Jones found the Ark of the Covenant in the classic film Raiders of the Lost Arkansas. The movie's storyline has nothing to do with the real archaeological site, though Tanis was indeed lost for centuries until archaeological work here in 1939 finally managed to name this site as the city. The excavated remains haven't been reconstructed as at other ancient Egypt sites but are full of interest for the archaeologically inclined. The temple remains mostly lie in ruins, with huge chunks of masonry and statuary scattered in place, while the royal necropolis with its empty tombs, the vast haul of jewelry treasures found here is now housed in its own room at the Egyptian Museum, is hugely interesting to visit. Visit Cairo's remaining Nilometer. Lovely Rhoda Island, just south of Jazeera Island, is home to Monasterli Palace, once the residence of an Ottoman pasha. Inside the palace gardens, right at the island's southern tip, is Cairo's Nilometer, which was used to measure the ebb and flow of the Nile and predict the annual flood heights. Unlike the Nilometers you'll see in Upper Egypt, such as the surviving Nilometer on Elephantine Island in Aswan, this one is a much later construction, built in c. 861. Also in the palace grounds is the small Kalthum Museum, which celebrates the life of Egypt's famed diva. Kalthum, 1898 to 1975, is the Arab world's beloved songstress, and you'll hear her music everywhere you go in Egypt, blasted out onto the street from awas, traditional coffee houses, and on the stereo of nearly every taxi. Inside, the museum holds a collection of the singer's possessions, including her fabulously sequined stage costumes, and there's an interesting black and white documentary on her life, with English subtitles. Visit the Museum of Islamic Art. Cairo's Museum of Islamic Art holds one of the most important collections of Middle Eastern artistry in the world. Severe damage sustained from a car bomb attack in 2014 resulted in this museum shutting its doors to the public for years, but thankfully it has now been reopened. Ottoman tile work, Ayyubid ceramics, frescoes, delicately patterned wood inlay, coinage, carved marble tombstones, and jewel-toned carpets, among other items, are all on display. Definitely spend some time perusing the illuminated Qurans and the exhibits of richly decorative ceramics, glassware, and metalware. Then move on to admire the heavily ornate jewelry collection and the rooms devoted to astronomy and other sciences, where you'll find highly detailed astrolabes and other equipment. View the royal mummies at NMEC. Unlike many of Cairo's other major museums, which all concentrate their exhibits on one specific era, the National Museum of Egyptian Civilizations, NMEC, is dedicated to telling the entire story of Egypt's human history under one roof. The museum partially opened in 2017 and has been slowly building up its exhibits. Its star attraction arrived in April 2020, when the Royal Mummies collection found its new permanent home here. Although the museum's full collection is in no way yet complete, this is where you now come to view Egypt's most famous pharaonic mummies. Ramses II and III, Hatshepsut, Amenhotep I, and Seti I and II are among the hugely familiar names of 22 mummies that are displayed in a specially designed Royal Mummies Gallery. Cruise on the Nile. No trip to Cairo is complete without a trip on the mighty Nile. You can choose between floating restaurants and nightclubs and cruise boats, but nothing really compares to a relaxing and rewarding river experience on board a felucca. Come dusk, when the call to prayer echoes around Cairo, board one of these traditional sailing boats and experience the marvelous serenity only the Nile can offer. Sailing down the same river Cleopatra did so many centuries ago is a real treat. Spend time exploring Saqqara and Dahshur. The vast necropolis of Saqqara and the nearby site of Dahshur are home to the other pyramids, and a day trip out here is just as rewarding as a trip to Giza's pyramids. The sites are roughly 30 kilometers south of Cairo. The Step Pyramid is Saqqara's most popular tourist attraction, but the entire area is littered with gorgeously painted tombs, which are well worth spending a few hours exploring. Of particular note, don't miss the Serapeum, where the mummies of the sacred Apis bulls were interred, and the Mastaba of Ti, with its colorful and highly detailed painted walls. Saqqara is so large, and its history as a burial site so vast, that excavations here continue to unearth finds that make headline-grabbing news worldwide. The Khan el-Khalili Bazaar. Step into medieval Cairo, an area also known as Islamic Cairo, for a trip into the land of spices, luxury fabrics, and perfume. The area displays several monuments and mosques from the Islamic period, but the star attraction is undoubtedly the Khan el-Khalili market, established in the 14th century. It's a great place to pick up souvenirs. If one merchant doesn't have what you're looking for, they'll happily find somebody who does. Don't forget to haggle, though. You'll have the chance to explore the Khan el-Khalili Bazaar with a small group of like-minded travelers on our specially curated 10-day Egypt tour. Admire Al-Azhar Mosque. Al-Azhar Mosque is the finest building of Cairo's Fatimid era and one of the city's earliest surviving mosques, completed in 972 CE. It's also one of the world's oldest universities. Caliph El-Aziz bestowed it with the status of university in 988 CE. The other university vying for oldest status is in Fez, and today, Al-Azhar University is still the leading theological center of the Islamic world. The main entrance is the Gate of the Barbers on the northwest side of the building, adjoining the Neo-Arab facade built by Abbas II. Leave your shoes at the entrance and walk into the central courtyard. To your right is the El Tibarsia Madriz, which has a mihrab, prayer niche, dating from 1309. From the central courtyard, you get the best views of the mosque's 5 minarets, which cap the building. Old Cairo. This 1 mile (0.6 kilometers) stretch of Cairo is the oldest settlement in the region, and combines Islamic, Christian, and Jewish histories. Take in the warren of narrow streets to find yourself at a cultural and religious crossroads. Discover the Amr Mosque, the first mosque built in Cairo, the Ben Ezra Synagogue, dating back to the 9th century, and some of the oldest churches in the world, such as the 4th century Church of St. Sergius or the 3rd century Hanging Church of the Virgin Mary. See one of the world's great collections in the Egyptian Museum. The absolutely staggering collection of antiquities displayed in Cairo's Egyptian Museum makes it one of the world's great museums. You would need a lifetime to properly see everything on show. The museum was founded in 1857 by French Egyptologist Auguste Mariette and moved to its current home, in the distinctive powder pink mansion in downtown Cairo, in 1897. Yes, the collection is poorly labeled and not well set out due to limits of space, and only a fraction of its total holdings is actually on display. It also currently suffers with some empty cases due to artifacts having already been transferred to the as yet unopened New Grand Egyptian Museum, GM. But you still can't help being impressed by the sheer majesty of the exhibits. When the GEM opens, this iconic building is slated to still be used as a museum, but it is uncertain which collections it will hold. The Sphinx. A short drive to the city side of the Giza Plateau, on the west bank of the Nile, takes you to the feet of the Sphinx, a symbol of ancient Egypt. The mysterious structure, with a lion's body and a human's head, has been looming over Giza for thousands of years, now guarding the only remaining wonder of the ancient world. It has inspired emperors, poets, artists, scholars, and travelers for centuries and remains an enigmatic feature of Cairo. Marvel at the Pyramids of Giza. The Pyramids of Giza are Cairo's #1 half-day trip and the top thing to do on everyone's itinerary. Right on the edge of the city, on the Giza Plateau, these 4th dynasty funerary temples have been wowing travelers for centuries and continue to be one of Egypt's major highlights. Despite the heat, the dust, and the tourist hustle, you can't miss a trip here. The Pyramid of Cheops, also called the Great Pyramid or Pyramid of Khufu, is the largest pyramid of the Giza group, and its interior of narrow passages can be explored, although there isn't much to see, except a plain tomb chamber with an empty sarcophagus. Farther south on the plateau is the Pyramid of Chephren, also known as the Pyramid of Kheper, with an internal tunnel area, which can be entered, and the smaller Pyramid of Mycerinus, Pyramid of Menkaure. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoy this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.